Hello and thank you for joining me today. Instead of a classic tutorial, today we're going to go over software and IT tools to run your business on a budget. So, tech startups, entrepreneurs, small businesses, curious people that want to do some quick occasional tasks will find value in this. I basically catalog a bunch of tools and let's dive into it because I've played with a lot of toys, I've played with a lot of tools. I actually like doing these things, and I'm been doing this for a long time, and I'm a firm anti-piracy person. If you're going to use something, play nice with the other organizations because they also have to pay their bills, long story short. And I'm going to try not to be boring, even though the subject matter can be a bit dry, and let's just dive into it because we've got a lot of ground to cover. So first and foremost, choosing software. The price versus what you get out of it is always what you have to play with a metric, because we can drown ourselves in subscriptions and recurrent payments these days. Just look at what your TV streaming habits are, and now apply that to business software, and it gets worse. So free also isn't always better than good. When you look at free plans of software as a service style offerings, they are meant to make you go to the next level and give you the basic minimum, so you can have like a quasi-permanent 30-day trial type product. How critical is it? Is it worth paying for it? Are you actually going to get value out of it? Are you going to nail that presentation? Are you going to get that customer? Are you going to etc.? And for how long are you going to use it? Is it worth paying a plan a year ahead, or just do 3 months and you're good? So, buy versus subscribe if you have the options. Wait, and for those who are not very familiar with the open source space, there's an amazing lot of amazing tools out there which are just as good as commercial grade. Of course, with the open source stuff, you have to be able to support yourself in general, or you can actually buy a service plan, and those kind of systems are there to help you out. So let's just dive into category by category. And the first one is the obvious, good old email. So you have a few options out there. There's the basic classic. You can host it internally on your, let's say, a NAS from Synology, QNAP, or something like that. Build your own email server, etc. Or if you've got a WordPress hosting plan, many of those have 100 email addresses that are there included, which can get you help started with stuff. And if you want to go for something with more reliability, Amazon Workmail is actually pretty damn cheap. But my recommendation is go directly to the business suites for the price difference. You get calendar, group conversations, email, office suites, etc. You get a whole lot more for your money. The three main players, as usual, are Google, Microsoft, Zoho, and check against what your employees like, what your ecosystem of apps are compatible with, and you can make all this run for free if you want to do it in-house. But again, there's never something that's free because you have to support it yourself. So email's the obvious one. My take on this category is just send it somewhere where you don't have to manage it, and spend your time somewhere where you can actually find value. Now, we need to work together. Email's nice, but come on, another email thread. So there's a bunch of group chat style applications out there. Slack, Microsoft Teams, Google Chat and Spaces, and Discord are the main suspects usually. For those who don't know, Discord, call it the gamer's version of Slack. So it's actually really interesting. There's a bunch of plugins. There's a massive community. Take a look at it if you're not happy with everything else. It also depends on your business segment. So if you're a video game studio, odds are Discord that might not be a bad idea. And if you're going to be working with a whole bunch of colleagues, let's work with a whole bunch of colleagues. And there's project management tools out there, which even for smaller projects, it's just good to keep everybody aligned and organized and on time for deliverables. Three names that are there which are commonplace, and there's dozens others. Just pick whatever you like. But Asana is the Classic with 15 free users to start with, which is actually quite functional. Trello is another classic. It's a different way of viewing information and also has a really good, decent free plan. Right, I've never used, but I've read good things about it, and there's a bazillion others. So don't deprive yourself of the benefit of a project management system. Try it, and you may just find a lot of value into it. Now, my least favorite topic in the world, my background is sales, business development, marketing, communications, etc. Accounting. I'm just not an accountant. I'm fully comfortable with my sense of being on this topic, but there's some really decent free packages out there to get organizations started. I have no opinion. Again, accounting and me, nah. But there's also the usual suspects, and it goes against the value you get versus what you pay. I pay for my package because I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to learn to speak the language. I use this stuff with pretty colors and it just fills the blanks and does stuff for me. It's worth every penny for me. But if you're financially inclined, accountingly inclined, there's plenty of options out there you can play with. Now, let's jump into a bit more fun things. Let's start talking about graphics. Because everything is social media these days, everything is visual. We have a very ADD type audience to deal with at all tiers of every single business sector. So there's a lot of value in maximizing visual communication. So a lot of individuals and organizations love their Adobe products, and it's the professionals' favorite suite of tools. And if you have individuals or yourself in the organization that are spending a lot of time and you know the tools, go Adobe. Like the relearning new tools to save a few bucks, probably not worth it. But for us, I will dare call us the puny mortals of graphic design. I'm not a graphic designer. I can do stuff, but to save my life, and if I need something done, I actually hire someone and pay someone to do it, or ask friends, family, whatever. So this matrix is actually there to help you get started. If you need to do basic things, here's the equivalence, if you will. On my website, you can actually download the whole guide of everything I'm talking about today with all the links and references, so you don't have to look for this stuff. I already took care of the heavy lifting for you. But if you never played with GIMP and you want to try to do some Photoshopping, GIMP is the open source cousin of Photoshop, Illustrator, Inkscape, and so forth. I'll let you read all that, and let's just skip to the next section. But this is where you can learn to do things and save a few bucks if you have only occasional needs. Now, my new favorite toys are cloud graphic suites. They've been there for a while, and I really got into them this year. This is no skills, no problem. And their starter plans are actually really good in general to actually get a feel for the product and try and actually do things that are high quality in a limited amount of time through their templates, preset graphics, libraries, etc. Those products are actually worth trying. So if you need to do thumbnails for YouTube or a Facebook post, an Instagram post, or something like that, and you don't want to bug your graphic person or whatever it may be, or your graphic person can actually go into this tool, set you up your templates, and just roll with them. It's a very cool way of doing things. You can do visuals. You can also do video editing in some products, and it's worth kicking that tire and kick it solid. It's a whole lot of fun. Now, because we talk about graphic design and video editing and sound all that mumbo jumbo, we gotta fill the blanks. So we want to get low cost, high impact content. And for photos and illustrations, those guys do a great job. I'm going to point you directly to Absurd and Undraw because they're the unusual suspects. The three others are the usuals. Absurd is just absurd designs for free, and friend of mine built his consulting website around this stuff, and it was brilliant. It was really visually stunning and very different, but it delivered the message he needed. Undraw is really cool because it's all graphical situations of individuals that you can actually tweak with your colors and everything. Take a look at it. It's worth 10 minutes of your day at a minimum. Now, stock footage. Those guys kind of starting to be familiar, right? We added Mixkit to the list, but you can actually download royalty-free You don't need to pay for either video content that you can put in your own content, and it's really useful. A really good way to get familiar with this space. And then same for sound, and then same for fonts and icons, because icons can take you a whole long way. Font Awesome, SVG Pro have really good stuff, and there's like a bazillion others. On the font side, believe it or not, I really like Google Fonts. They've got a massive library of very beautiful fonts that are there for free. So I also like 1001 Fonts and their similar sites, because if you want to get the funky stuff, like if you want to do a themed invitation, you do some sci-fi stuff, you want to do a Star Wars style invite, and you want to get a Star Wars scroller font, go there, you'll probably find what you need. Now that we've done all this, let's post it somewhere. Let's spread the message. And you can schedule your social media posts with tools like this. Buffer and Hootsuite are big names in the space, and they have decent free plans to start with. Same guilty parties for the visuals, because you can actually template your whole things. And once you're ready to go out and you want to figure out what your hashtags should be, say for Instagram, well, those organizations will help you find the most effective hashtags you need for Instagram, Twitter, whatever you may need. Now, let's talk about writing. We've done all this visual, video editing, audio, and all. We got to write stuff. So first and foremost, new tool I've started to use is called Hemingway. It's free, and you can define parameters on how you want your stuff to sound, from a professional to casual types. Copywriting editor, and it's a whole lot of fun to use. And then you want to proof your stuff Grammarly to make sure you don't have any syntax, grammar issues, especially like me. If English is your second language, this is really useful. And lastly, DeepL to translate. I used to use Google Translate, but I found that DeepL is more precise and saves me a lot of time. Decent free plan there as well. Try them. It's all a lot of fun. Now, we want to generate some leads with our tool, with the content we've generated, and email marketing is a good place to start. I mean, we've been doing email marketing for how long now, and it still works. It still delivers when well thought out and well done. So those vendors there are good places to look at. MailChimp is the classic vendor in this space, but I'm going to point towards Cake Mail just because they're a local shop. They have a great product. Check them out. They're just not as widely known, but they're worth your time. CRMs. You want to generate leads, you want to populate and distribute to your salespeople, CRMs. I have a whole discussion in my tutorials on how to select a CRM. Just go check it out. I hope it's worth your time. And there's also a CRM selection matrix template that you can actually build from, all there free of charge. CMS. I have another video on choosing a CMS. CMS is for your website, your content management system. So WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, all those names that you see advertised or used or referenced. I've got a video that teaches you the basic to understand that language and start making decisions and finding something that will work for you. Now, if you're on a budget, you can actually use that CMS to make your own landing pages for your campaigns. You don't need to pay for an extra service. You combine that with the rest of your tools. You can get something going for no dollars and get results. If you look a bit further and you're a marketing intense organization, there's some really cool landing page providers out there. I'm just not that familiar with the space. Lastly, SEO. Again, admitting to my ignorance here, I'm not an SEO guy. I can do some basics, but if I need to do anything serious, I will go and get the expertise that we don't have here in-house. And SEO is one of those. So the Google tools, classic, that's your starting point. That's what everybody knows and talks, so that's a good place to start. And SEObility and HubSpot have website graders. So before you go full public with your website and actually migrate the whole thing, or just want to check what you have in place right now, use those tools to make sure that you don't have any red flags from an SEO perspective, and you also have some tips and tricks to fix those issues. Now that we've talked about sales, marketing, communications, we gotta get your people working. So first and foremost, I like firewalls. I have a background in IT security product, so I like playing with those stories. I'll shamelessly admit this. And firewalls are a classic place where you can get a lot of gains for not a lot of money. A lot of organizations, especially in the startup slash SMB, use consumer grade products. My advice is just move away from that, because you're going to get more secure products out there and better performance from those open source vendors that are listed there. You get an old PC, put a bunch of network cards in it, follow the guides. For a few dollars, you have an enterprise grade firewall. It's that what I run right here at home as well. And it's surprisingly easy to get around those products. If you want to get into the higher end features, there's communities, you can hire a consultant, etc. But this is far better than your consumer grade products for a few bucks. And on the Wi-Fi side, nothing's free because it's hardware. But if you go with new, those vendors are classic places to start. Personally, I run Ubiquiti and TP-Link, depending on which building I'm at. Also, there's Netgear that you can look at, and Aruba. I actually played with the Aruba stuff, and I was very pleasantly surprised by the simplicity of getting that network going. Take a look at those vendors to get started with Wi-Fi, and it's, again, so much more efficient than your classic retail vendors. I'm not dissing it, I'm not against the retail products, but if you have 25, 50 employees, you're going to max out that hardware. It's just quantifying the solution to your needs. Also, if you don't feel like getting brand new stuff, you can look at secondhand products from those vendors, and you can find some sweet deals as well, and it'll work. Now, on the software side and other tools for from an IT perspective, if you want to see what's happening in your network, IP Monitor from SolarWinds, it's a good place to start. It's there, it's free, you can upgrade later. FreeNAS or TrueNAS on the storage side, if you want to have your own storage server, if you will, like your Google Drive, but on your network. Same idea as the firewall, old PC, because you don't need a lot of computing power for this if your needs are ordinary modest, and you can actually build yourself with the gear on eBay or Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and you can get yourself a storage server for not a lot of money with a lot of capacity and a lot of results. Virtualization, classic names there. If you've never virtualized anything, it's a whole lot of fun. Before I roll out anything, I usually spin up a virtual machine, i.e. a computer and a computer that's running virtually, and I try things before making them run, or I will configure something, then deploy it and just copy paste that configuration. On the antivirus side, things have gotten a whole lot better in the last decade, and unless your team goes to some really sneaky places, the Windows Defender can do a really good job. And if you want to stick in the free space, Bitdefender is a good free product. Now, in a different category, DNSs. Not as common, but lots of benefits. DNS means domain name server. It's that server infrastructure that basically is the white pages of the internet. And basically, if you go on yourcompanyname.com, it will translate it to 1.2.3.4, your IP address, and a whole bunch of other things. I like to replace my ISP's DNS servers for the following reasons. A, faster. B, enhanced security. And C, downtime. A couple of years ago, one of the local ISPs, the one I use, it happens, they had DNS outages, so everybody's internet down, unless you actually used one of those guys and you were just like not feeling it. So got a whole bunch of calls from my friends here downtown, and they're like, help me. All right, here's what you're gonna do. But if you put that at your network level, you're gonna have some performance gains. And on the security side, 1.1.1.1, which is Cloudflare and OpenDNS, have packages where they also filter malware. So you add an extra layer of security, and those devices are free. Sorry, not devices, services. Lastly, password managers, because how many passwords do we have? It's ridiculous. But Google Password Manager, that's a classic. Apple Keychain, its counterpart. good things if you stay in their ecosystems. I run Chrome, I've got an Android device, so all my knowledge is all centered against Google, so I can stick with Google passwords. Bitwarden is something that's really interesting because there's a free open source version. Now, if you want something a bit more commercial, distributed, supported, and for teams, Dashlane, 1Password, LastPass are classic packages. Now, startups. I've got a startup going. I've helped startups, I consult on startups, and startups can actually get some massive benefits if they're part of an incubator or accelerator program. Think of Founder Institute and a whole bunch of others out there. And once you're a member of that, you have access to specific programs that are available through your incubator. You can have stuff for free. You can have stuff heavily discounted because they want you hooked on their stuff while you're starting up. So take a look at it if you're in that space. And because there's also nonprofits that can actually benefit, and I'm on the board of a nonprofit named Digital Humani, and one of the first few things I got going once we registered the not-for-profit as a legal entity is get us in TechSoup. And from there, we can get access to software heavily or totally discounted for our needs because we're in the not-for-profit space, and we can run a whole bunch of things for little to no money, which helps us actually fulfill our value because we're 100% volunteer-based and we're not there for the money. So thank you to those vendors for offering those programs. Sorry. If you have any questions on anything discussed today, if you need a reference or what do you think I should do, I'm always available, preferably by email. Contact information is right there. Don't be shy. Drop me a line. Thanks for pressing play and have a great day.